Ordinary life. In the small, dusty town of Willow Creek, Eli Carter grew up in a modest single-story house with peeling paint and a creaky porch. His mother, Clara, worked double shifts at the local diner, her hands calloused from years of scrubbing plates and pouring coffee. Eli, now 19, was a lanky young man with a mop of dark hair and curious hazel eyes. He spent his days fixing cars at Joe's auto shop, dreaming of a life beyond the town's borders. Clara never spoke of his father, and Eli had learned not to ask. She'd only say he's gone and we're better for it. Eli's life was simple but tough. He'd scrounge for parts to keep his old pickup running and help Clara with bills. The townsfolk liked him. His quick wit and kind heart made him a favorite, but he always felt like something was missing, a piece of himself he couldn't name. One evening, while sorting through a box of Clara's old papers to help with taxes, Eli found a faded hospital bracelet tucked inside an envelope. It read Baby Boy Carter, Willow Creek General, June 12, 2006. The date was right, but something about it nagged at him. Why was it hidden? The stranger's letter. A week later, a peculiar letter arrived, addressed to Eli in crisp, elegant handwriting. It bore no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper from a law firm in New York City, claiming they needed to discuss a matter of inheritance. Eli laughed it off at first. Inheritance? Clara barely had 2 dimes to rub together. But curiosity got the better of him, and he called the number listed. A woman with a polished voice asked him to visit their office, offering to cover travel expenses. Clara was furious when he told her. It's a scam, Eli. Don't be foolish, she snapped, her eyes wide with something like fear. But Eli couldn't shake the feeling that this was tied to the hospital bracelet. Against her wishes, he booked a bus ticket to New York, promising to be careful. As the bus rolled through the night, Eli stared out the window, wondering if this was the key to the emptiness he'd always felt. The revelation. In the gleaming glass tower of the law firm, Eli felt like a fish out of water in his worn jeans and flannel shirt. The lawyer, a silver-haired man named Mr. Grayson, greeted him warmly, but with a strange intensity. Mr. Carter, he began, this may come as a shock, but you are not who you think you are. Grayson explained that in 2006, a mix-up at Willow Creek General Hospital resulted in 2 newborn boys being switched. Eli, born to a wealthy industrialist named Victor Langston, was raised by Clara Carter, while Clara's biological son was raised as Victor's heir, Daniel Langston. Eli's head spun. Victor Langston, a billionaire who owned half the factories in the Northeast, was his father? Grayson presented hospital records, DNA test results, and a nurse's confession from years ago, uncovered after a lawsuit. Eli was the true heir to the Langston fortune. But there was a catch. Victor had died 6 months earlier, and Daniel, the boy raised as his son, had inherited everything. Grayson believed Eli had a legal claim, but warned that pursuing it would upend lives, especially Daniel's. Meeting the other son, Eli demanded to meet Daniel. Grayson arranged a meeting at the Langston estate, a sprawling mansion that made Eli's entire hometown look like a speck. Daniel, a polished young man with sharp cheekbones and an air of entitlement, greeted Eli with suspicion. So you're the one claiming to be me, Daniel said, his voice cold. Eli didn't want to fight, he just wanted answers. Over coffee in a room lined with oil paintings, Daniel revealed he'd grown up with every privilege but under Victor's crushing expectations. He'd never felt like he belonged either. The 2 young men, so different yet eerily similar, began to talk. Daniel admitted he'd found odd discrepancies in his father's will, mentioning a contingency for an unnamed heir. Eli shared the hospital bracelet and his mother's secrecy. They agreed to dig deeper, but Daniel warned Eli, the Langston family's inner circle, including Victor's ruthless sister, Margaret, would do anything to protect the fortune. The search for truth. Eli returned to Willow Creek, his mind racing. Clara finally confessed, She'd suspected the switch years ago when a nurse hinted at it, but stayed silent to protect Eli from the Langstons' world of greed and power. She begged him to let it go, but Eli couldn't. He and Daniel began exchanging messages, piecing together clues. They found hospital staff who'd been paid off to keep quiet, and a retired doctor who confirmed the switch was no accident. Someone had orchestrated it. Meanwhile, Margaret Langston caught wind of Eli's claim. She sent a private investigator to tail him, and Eli noticed a black SUV lurking near the auto shop. One night, his truck's brakes failed on a mountain road, nearly killing him. Furious, Eli confronted Daniel, suspecting betrayal, but Daniel swore he was on his side. Together, they hired a lawyer to challenge the will, setting off a legal battle that drew national attention. The trial. The courtroom was a circus, with reporters swarming and Margaret's legal team painting Eli as a gold-digging fraud. Clara testified tearfully, admitting she'd kept quiet out of fear. Daniel shocked everyone by supporting Eli's claim, risking his own inheritance. The DNA evidence was undeniable, and the judge ruled in Eli's favor. He was Victor Langston's son and entitled to half the estate, worth billions. But victory came at a cost. Margaret vowed revenge, and Clara struggled with guilt for her silence. Eli, now wealthy beyond imagination, felt more lost than ever. The mansion, the money, it wasn't home. He missed the greasy tools of the auto shop, the simplicity of Willow Creek, the new beginning. Eli and Daniel forged an uneasy alliance, splitting the fortune but agreeing to run the Langston empire together. Eli moved to New York but kept his old pickup, a reminder of his roots. He brought Clara to live with him, easing her into a life she'd never imagined. Slowly, he began to understand his father through old letters and journals, learning Victor had been a complex man, generous, but haunted by enemies. One day, Eli visited Willow Creek, stopping at the diner where Clara had worked. He left a massive tip for the new waitress, a girl with dreams as big as his once were.
As he drove away, he realized the emptiness was gone.
He wasn't just the heir to a fortune, he was Eli Carter, shaped by struggle, love, and a truth he'd fought to uncover. For the first time, he felt whole.